It's a quick question. When was the last time you actually watched TV in a pitch black room in perfect conditions? Yeah, me neither. So typically when I'm watching TV, my kids have every light on. I got sun coming in from the windows. It is like light chaos. Nobody's sitting in darkness, optimizing for picture quality. And that's kind of exactly why conventional wisdom about which TV tech to buy is wrong for most people. I've been running a $3,500 OLED and a $1,600 mini LED in real world conditions. So movie nights, Rams games with every light on, gaming sessions that have gone way too late. And the results weren't that close actually. Plus there's new tech that I saw at IFA that I think is going to change the TV game. But I'll get to that. So for years, the TV advice has always been OLED if you want the best blacks, then mini LED if you want brightness and size. But something shifted this past year, and I don't think that most people who don't follow this tech closely have caught on. The gap closed in some key areas and totally vanished in a few cases, and sometimes it actually flipped. OLED has not been sitting around idle. Everyone else kind of dunked on it for being too dim. New OLED flagships, specifically the LG G5, Samsung's really awesome S95F, are using new panel tech that hits 2200 to sometimes 2500 nits now. And that is a massive jump. I had the LG G5 in a bright room with Sunday afternoon sun streaming through the windows. My 9-year-old doing homework with every overhead light on in our kitchen, and I could still see that picture perfectly. I know that might be a unique scenario, but suffice to say, super bright, picture looked great. And that used to not be possible. OLED's biggest weakness just got way less weak. But mini LED still goes the almost surface of the sun brighter. Sony Bravia 9 Hisense U8 QG can hit 3000 to 5000 nits. If your living room is bright during the day, the extra brightness matters, I think more than most people would think. So quick set change. Speaking of managing kind of everything in a bright Southern California house, the TV, the kids, my busy Rams and Lakers schedule. Something else that has been saving me hours every week that I haven't mentioned, thanks to this video's sponsor, Beatbot. I used to spend almost every Saturday morning skimming the pool and vacuuming it, just hours that were gone that I could never get back. And Beatbot's AquaSense 2 Ultra genuinely helped me, and it did it in, I think, a pretty smart way. It's got 27 sensors, which seems like a lot of sensors for a pool cleaner, that will map your pool and figure out the most efficient way to clean it. It also has, this I thought was really impressive, it's got Beatbot's calling Hybrid Sense AI, which I know sounds marketing-y, but it's essentially gonna learn your pool and get better over time. And Beatbot does a really good job too. After a year, I've seen this, of doing software updates, making sure that the robot is getting better, understanding your pool, and it sort of keeps improving. They've added AI quick mode to an update. It does a fast targeted clean when you've got certain people coming over and need the pool looking good in like 30 minutes. We've got things like eco mode that optimizes the cleaning path to save power without sacrificing performance. It literally gets smarter the longer you own it, which I know sounds like a duh. Our phones and even cars do that now, but this is not something that pool cleaning robots really have had. I added night cleaning mode, which will run while you're sleeping so the pool's perfect when you wake up. And the part that actually matters to me, cleans the surface. The leaves floating on top, it gets them. It kind of goes up, sucks them in, because shockingly, and I didn't know this, leaves don't generally sink to the bottom. They wait at the top for you to dive in and get all stuck in your hair. If you live somewhere where it's cold, you have to shut down your pool for like half a year. And proper winterization is like super important to minimize wear and tear, and also sort of ensure that whenever you do decide to go swimming again, say in the spring, it's going to be easier. And Beatbot can help a ton with keeping your pool ready to be reopened and also making your life easier when it's, freezing cold outside. You gotta take it out, rinse it off, let it dry, charge it fully before you store it. Keep it somewhere dry and out of the sun. If you're storing it for a while, charge it at least once during that time so the battery doesn't die, during your winter period. Beatbot does have full maintenance guide on their site if you do want all the details, or just come hang out in Southern California where you can swim all the time. If you are looking for a Black Friday gift for someone with a pool, this is actually useful. You give the gift of time. I'd rather spend Saturday mornings watching college football than skipping the pool. And if you are the kind of person who gives the best gifts in the world, or just giving the best gift to yourself, you actually save 44% right now for Black Friday. Link is in the description. Here's what actually surprised me the most after testing these new sets. Mini LED blacks have gotten really good. The blooming, where you kind of get those halos around bright stuff, especially on dark backgrounds, you can still find them if you're hunting for problems, but during normal watching, it's not there anymore at all. OLED still wins in a dark room though. Each pixel, it's OLED, makes its own light. And when something is supposed to be black, the pixel is just off, pure darkness. I was watching Dune on both, and that movie has a ton of low light scenes, and OLED just looked cleaner. Those moments where you're trying to see faces in dim rooms or details in shadows, OLED stays perfectly even across the whole screen. With mini LED tech, you could possibly see some inconsistencies with the panel brightness. Sometimes you get like little patches where one zone's slightly brighter or dimmer than it should be. It's not all that common, especially in higher end mini LED sets, but you can sometimes see it in some mid-tier and entry-level mini LED sets. So if you're like me and you plan your life around days, whether it's Rams on Sunday or Lakers during the week, mini LED, I think, is the move this year. The extra brightness means afternoon games look incredible, even with the sun coming through. The vivid colors, everything felt more dynamic. And if you're the type who has like ESPN on the background all day with that ticker running, no stressing about burning it at all, even if it's not that common anymore, especially on modern OLED sets. So the TVs that I would recommend, Sony Bravia 9 and the Samsung QN90F would be my picks if you're looking for a sports first setup, which was high on the priority for me. Movies though, OLED is still the winner if you can control the lighting. Pixels go from completely off to fully on instantly. There's a richness to the image that mini LED kind of approximates but doesn't quite match. I recommend the LG G5, Samsung S95F, or this guy, the Sony Bravia 8 Mark II. And because those are flagship sets, you're also getting flagship processors, which in a lot of cases will upscale some content. So, and it's not always about the panel, sometimes about the processors, but the flagship processors in any of those OLED sets, pretty good. But there's kind of a small caveat, I guess, to the movie night part. Mini LED closes the gap fast, and I think in particular, the Sony Bravia 9 handles movies really, really well. You lose a bit of that perfect contrast, but you do gain brightness and impact. I think for a lot of people watching movies, that trade-off is probably gonna be worth it. Gaming though, is where I think the gap is like almost non-existent and gotten super small. OLED's got the speed advantage, zero response time, perfect motion, instant pixel response. And if you're playing competitive shooters or anything where like milliseconds matter, that edge like can be real. But mini LED caught up absolutely everywhere else. 4K, 120 hertz VRR, low input lag, all that stuff works great now. The real difference, I thought, was stress levels. Static HUDs, pause screens left too long. Playing the same game for months, mini LED does not care, will never be a problem. OLED probably wouldn't be a problem either. Modern OLEDs don't have issues with kind of the screen protections, but if you're the type who worries about burn-ins and that kind of thing, mini LED removes that entirely. Competitive players who want maximum performance, go OLED. Everyone else, mini LED saves money and maybe some headaches. Viewing angles, OLED totally dominates. You can sit almost anywhere the picture looks the same. So if you have a big couch, people sit everywhere. That's definitely a concern. Color accuracy holds. Brightness doesn't shift. Contrast stays intact. Mini LED still, all these years later, has that LCD thing where if you're not in the sweet spot, the picture does tend to wash out. It has gotten better in the newer models. They're pretty good off axis, but it is still definitely not as good as sitting just straight in the middle. Price matters here. A solid mid to upper tier flagship mini LED for 65 inch will run $1,400 to less than $2,000, maybe $1,900. Same size OLED, you're closer to $2,200 and then goes up from there. And that $800 to $1,000 difference is really significant. You scale up to 77 or 80 plus inches, and OLEDs get really expensive really fast. Mini LED lets you go bigger without the premium, and for most people, the performance gap does not justify the extra cost at all. But one thing that I haven't talked about yet, I was in Berlin earlier this year for the IFA trade show. As somebody who loves TV technologies, I saw something that like stopped me dead in my tracks. It was RGB mini LED from Hisense. You might have heard of micro RGB, Samsung, TCL, Sony, they're all working on it. And technically it's different technology than like RGB mini LED, but in the same sense that like QD-OLED and OLED are technically different technologies, but similar enough. So normal mini LED uses blue LEDs behind the screen, then relies on filters to create red and green. RGB mini LED actually uses real red, green, and blue LEDs as a backlight. So it's pure color right from the source. The Hisense version hits 97% of the BT 2020 color space, and it does ish 10,000 nits of brightness. So that's double what current already eye-searing mini LEDs can do. I saw Samsung's version in person, which was the micro RGB. Also, people kept asking if it was OLED. It's not, it just looked that good. Biggest caveat I can give though is right now that technology is dumb expensive. So that's a lot of money. Also, huge sizes. The tech is here, it works, and it will trickle down to smaller, more affordable sets. If you can wait another year or two, this is actually what's coming. I think it might deliver on that promise of OLED black with mini LED brightness that I think we've been chasing for years. So after all that like real testing, here's what I actually learned. The expensive OLED lost to the cheaper mini LED in almost every real world scenario I threw at it. Bright room, sports, daytime TV, mixed lighting conditions. The only time OLED generally won was in a dark room watching movies. That was it, that's the list. I don't do competitive gaming, so that wasn't a concern for me. And I think that means for most people, in most rooms, watching most content, mini LED is probably the better buy. It's not the compromised buy, it's probably the better buy. If you watch movies in the dark and that's your primary thing, get an OLED. LG G5, Samsung S95F, Sony Bravia 8 Mark II. If you're an OLED person, those are the top. Now there are tiers down that still give you the OLED awesomeness. If you watch sports, get a mini LED. And I think that should be a really easy decision. Sony Bravia 9, Samsung QN90F, Hisense U8QG, the brightness and color pop makes sports look better. And you won't think twice about that static ticker at the bottom. If you game competitively and want every possible advantage, get OLED for that response time. If you game casually and don't want to stress about burn-in, get mini LED and just save the money. And if you're just normally watching TV, a mix of everything in a room with windows and lights, like most people, for the first time, I think mini LED is a way to go. I think you'll be happier with it in situations that will happen in your daily TV watching life. The truth that nobody wants to say out loud, and I'm sure I'm gonna hear it in the comments, is that OLED became the answer to a question most people stopped asking. What looks best in a pitch black room? It was a great question in 2015. Less relevant when you've got kids doing homework, sun coming through windows, and lights on because you're not living in a cave. Mini LEDs solve the problem I think a lot of people have. And RGB, mini LED, and micro RGB is about to make this whole debate, I think, look kind of quaint. Give it a year or two for prices and sizes to drop. You might finally have a TV that just does everything right. But right now, if you're spending money, sort of know what you actually watch and how and where you actually watch it. That's the only thing that matters. I have links to down below. There are budget options I didn't talk about, high-end options. All that information will be down below if you want to click on it or learn more about TVs. I know this is a topic that's gonna make some people upset. OLED people feel real passionately about. But I think it's a testament to not what's happened with OLED, but to how good sort of the LED side has gotten. That's even a question now of which one you should get, not a definite answer of absolutely which one you should get.